you can see, our house is in full estate sale mode. I've set up the ring light there because Jeff and I are gonna start our video, and we're gonna do it on the backdrop of all of our stuff. So we have someone coming to pick up some furniture today, so that'll lighten the load just a little bit. But this is it, and we've got lots more to sell. So if you happen to live in the area and you're looking for furniture, household things, make an appointment. But these things are all listed on Marketplace, on Facebook. They're listed on Craigslist. They're listed on another website called Nextdoor. And hopefully we will sell everything. So let's get on to our conversation, Jeff and I, talking about our trip to Nice.
I watch you as you drive. Do you know I'm looking? And I can't help but smile. Do you know how much I love you? You put my favorite song on. I put my feet up, and we just sing along. And I can't help but feeling, just loving this moment. Can we stay here forever? I'm loving this moment. Can we stay here together?
Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Ann, and behind me and all around me you see estate sale. I'm so happy that you have decided to join me today, actually join us, because I'm so excited that Jeff is going to pull himself away from his very busy agenda and come and talk to you with me, and we'll talk about how our trip to Nice went, talk about our meeting with Adrian, talk about the bank, and anything else we can think of. So, without further ado, here is Jeff coming over here to join me.
Well, hello, Ann. How are you?
I'm good, darling. How are you?
I'm good. So you're going to give them a little update about our trip?
Yes. Now, I know there are a lot of people that were very interested in finding out, well, how was the meeting with Adrian? I need to start this off by saying this. Adrian knows that I have a YouTube channel. And one of the first things she said to me when we sat down in her home, she said, so, what are you going to do? You're going to take everything I tell you and go say it all on YouTube? And it wasn't my intention to do that, and it's not our intention to do that now. Understand, Jeff and I paid for the consultation with Adrian, and our situation is not going to be the same as yours or yours or yours or anybody else's out there. So while we're going to talk about things that we learned, it's going to be pretty much more generalities that I'm sure Adrian has shared with people in her YouTube videos, in her après-midis in Nice or in Paris, things that she says publicly. The more private things, you're going to have to pay for your own consultation. I'm very sorry to say. I don't want to create problems, and I hope you all understand.
And everybody's situation is different and unique.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, our approach was a very strict set of guidelines of what we're trying to work with here.
Right.
So it will be different for every other situation.
Right.
But generally, the jump from America to France, there's a lot of steps involved.
So the good news is, before we get to the nitty-gritty about Adrian, we applied for our visas online, and we have our appointments in Miami in the middle of February, next month. We could have gotten an appointment within a week. So if you're looking for appointments for your long stay visa and you're in the state of Florida, you probably have to go to Miami because I think that's the nearest office. So let me tell you that when we applied a couple of weeks ago online, when I went to schedule our appointment, we could have had an appointment within a few days of that very date that I was doing the scheduling. So I know a lot of the offices in the country, people have been sharing on forums on Facebook that they can't get an appointment or they've been waiting months for an appointment. But I'm happy to say that if you're looking for an appointment, the in-person part of the application in Miami, at least as of now, there were lots of appointments available. So we had our pick.
And with the visas, the important thing is for 2 people, you have to make 2 appointments. Don't go in with 1 appointment for both of you. It takes, each individual makes their appointment. We scheduled ours at the same rough time, but each person needs their own individual appointment for a long stay visa.
Well, let me tell you about what happened. I tried to do 2 separate appointments because it says it multiple times for 2 people or a family applying together. Each person needs their own visa. So when I went to make my appointment, it asked me if I wanted to add another appointment. So I clicked on add, and then it wanted to know who I wanted to add the appointment for. And I put Jeff's name in. And what happened was the confirmation for one time, the same time, says both of us. So I thought, oh my God, I've heard these other people have gone to Miami, they forgot to make a second appointment, and by luck, the person in the office agreed to let their spouse come in, even though they didn't have that second appointment. I didn't want to have to go through that. I thought, all right, let me get this fixed before I go any further. So I called the office in Miami on the phone, and I explained that the confirmation I had showed both of us at the very same time, instead of what I was trying to do, 1 appointment after the other. And the woman said, does your confirmation paper have both names and individual passport numbers on it? And I said, yes. And she said, okay, well, as long as it's got 2 separate names and 2 separate passport numbers, it will show in the system as 2 different people, even though you're both coming at the same time. So if that happens to you, don't panic. You may want to call the office wherever in the country you're going just to be sure, but that's what happened to me. As much as I tried to do 2 separate appointments, it came out both of us at the same time.
But you made appointments and added a person, and that was the important part.
Right, right. And the person on the phone said, as long as there are 2 separate passport numbers showing, even though it shows that you both have the same appointment time, both of you can show up and come inside at the very same time. And that was the most important part.
So that's one of the steps.
Okay, so now let's talk about our meeting with Adrian. Adrian, first of all, is a very nice lady. And if you've seen her on House Hunters International, that's Adrian. That's exactly who she is. She's just exactly the same in person. She's warm and personable and has a head full of information that she has acquired over, I guess it's close to 30 years, 28, 29, close to 30 years. This lady is an expert, and the one thing, well, not the one thing, and there are many things we like about the fact that we've contracted with her. All of the people that work for her or with her in Adrian Leeds' company, they're all expats. Everybody has gone through the same process that you may go through, we're going to go through, and everybody down the road is going to go through. So they already know what it's like coming from the US, moving to France, being new in town, looking for an apartment, looking to buy something, looking to rent something, trying to figure out how to get the utilities on, how to get a bank account. So that is a great thing. The other thing that I was impressed with is the fact that because they have worked in France with French people, with the French bureaucracy, they know how the French people think. And one of the most important things that she stressed, and this was after she took a look at the dossier that I brought. Now, a lot of people were asking me, was she impressed with the dossier? Quite frankly, she didn't want us to leave it. She took a glance at it, she looked at the cover letter, and the first thing that she said was, get rid of the picture. We had a picture of us with our dog, and in the cover letter, we mentioned that we were moving with the dog. The first thing she said is, take the dog out of the cover letter. This wasn't to hide the dog from landlords. This was, don't put it in their face, basically. Right now, there is a huge shortage of rentals in Nice, France, and in Paris. And the rental laws, as you may know if you've watched some of my past videos, the rental laws greatly favor tenants. This means that the landlords and management companies that are looking for tenants, they can be very, very picky. And they can look at your picture. If they don't like your hair color, they can decide, no, we're not going to rent to these people. So she said that, you know, for example, there's an apartment, if there's one apartment in this particular area, and it's exactly what everybody's looking for, maybe there are 10 people that are filing or completing applications for that very same apartment. They're going to flip through, and if they see a mention of a dog, they're going to just put that one aside. So the first thing we learned is, don't put any information about the dog in the cover letter. The landlords and management companies cannot forbid you to have a dog. They're not allowed to do that. So you don't have to worry. You'll get that apartment, and then you just bring your pets with you, cats, dogs, whatever. So that was a big issue. But also in the cover letter, I had stressed in my cover letter that we were financially capable of affording the apartment and all of this information. And she said, no, French people don't care about the money part.
That's the American approach. The American approach is, if I throw enough money at it, it'll come my way. And in France, it's a different mentality. In France, you want to tell the landlord how much you appreciate his property, how much you're excited about the opportunity to live in their apartment.
So we've got to redo our cover letter, and we have to appeal to their emotions. We have to say, oh my goodness, we love that. But appeal to their emotional side, how warm it made you feel inside, and how beautiful, and how it's always been my lifelong dream to live in France. Our
lifelong dream.
Well, it turned into your lifelong dream, but it was mine long before it was yours. But appeal to their emotions. The money part will come. So the first thing that we have to do is we've got to rewrite our cover letter.
And say how much we love France, how much we want to move there, how much we're looking forward to the French lifestyle, to live life and enjoy life in our retirement.
Right. So we also have to sort of fine tune it towards the apartment that we're trying to rent. So it may be too soon to rewrite the cover letter, or maybe we rewrite parts of it, and then once there is an apartment that they show us that we really, really like, we tailor that cover letter to that very specific apartment. We love the balcony. We can have romantic dinners outside with candles and blah, blah, blah. So there is that piece of it.
Those are the kind of things that tell the landlord how you appreciate his apartment.
Exactly. How beautifully furnished it is.
Yes.
If it's a furnished apartment, we love your choice of furniture. Even if the furniture looks like crap. If you really want that apartment, you need to say that. And worry about the furniture after.
Just add a few accent pillows, that's all.
Well, I think if it looks like crap, we'll have to add a lot more than accent pillows. But we'll cross that bridge.
But
we have to look at the bones and not worry about the furniture, like when we shop for apartments and houses here in the United States.
Exactly. You can always refurnish or add furniture to an apartment once you find the right location and the right apartment.
Exactly. So the next thing we talked about was a guarantor. Now, we thought that if we did a dossier with all kinds of financial information, copies of every single bank account and an investment account that we have, and presented that, we thought that would be great, because landlords are not allowed to ask for that information. By law, they cannot ask to see your bank accounts or statements or that kind of information.
Standing underneath the lights.
In France, it's not the money that impresses the French people, it's the person that impresses. They want the impression of you as a person, me as a person. That's what they're after, not the financial necessarily.
But that being said, typically when you rent an apartment in France, when you're coming to the US or coming from the US, they want you to have a guarantor. Now, a lot of people don't have a guarantor in France, or somebody somewhere who is willing to guarantee that if you don't pay the rent, they'll take care of it, no worries. I mean, if you're coming to France to work, I would imagine your employer is going to guarantee that they could be the guarantor.
Right.
We don't know another living soul. We have no family in France. We have no friends that we could ask to be a guarantor. But Adrian basically said that without a guarantor of some kind, they can't show our dossier or our application.
Standing underneath the lights, look into each other's eyes. Tired snowflakes are coming down, collapse into water when they hit the ground. I hear the sound of empty streets, and yesterday has gone to sleep.
So what we did is we applied with Guarantor, and even though it costs a little bit of money, we haven't started paying for it yet because it's going to be based on what the rent is.
Right.
But I mean, we suggested, before we even got to the guarantor, Jeff had suggested, well, what if we just pay the whole year's rent up ahead in front?
And that's the American way. And that did not impress the French at all. So the guarantor is basically a party that backs you up. It's like co-signing on your rent agreement with you.
Right. The other thing that we learned is that when you rent an apartment, you have, I think it's up to 3 months to decide you don't like the apartment. So if you get into that apartment and if you prepaid a whole year ahead, the likelihood of you getting all of that money back without a hassle is pretty slim. So if you don't have to put all that money out, why bother?
Right.
I mean, what if you move into that apartment and the neighbors are terrible and the landlord can't do anything about it, or the management company can't do anything about it? You're stuck in that apartment for the entire lease. So you don't want to offer a full year's rent. I've even heard from some people, setting aside conversations with Adrian, I've heard some people saying that in France you're not allowed to do that. I think Adrian would have told us if French law doesn't allow you to do that. She simply said
It doesn't impress anybody. That's
Yes.
not the approach to use
Right.
when finding a French apartment to
right.
rent.
You have to take the money thing out of your mind. That's an American thing.
Yep.
French people are not, they're not impressed by money. They're impressed by the character of the person, the kind of person. They want to obviously know that they're not going to get stuck for the lease.
Right.
So that's why signing up with Guarantor or finding a guarantor is a good way to do it, because that way they know if they see that you have signed up with Guarantor, they never have to worry about the rent.
Right.
If you drop dead, both of you drop dead in the apartment, you can't pay the rent, Their landlord has no money out of pocket, they won't lose anything on it.
Right.
So we feel real good about the fact that we were approved for Guarantor. I think it was within 24 hours, we each got an approval. You apply as a couple, but you get 2 separate approvals, even though the application is as a couple. And we're looking for an apartment, a 2-bedroom apartment, in specific areas of Nice, where the rent could be anywhere between 1,200 euros or 1,500 euros, maybe even as high as 1,800 euros a month. Somewhere though, the figure of around 1,000 is in my mind. I can't remember where I got that figure, but we'll know more once we actually find an apartment.
Give you the update on that.
Right. So now everybody wanted to know, so did we find an apartment? How do we like it? Here's the other problem. We don't have our long stay visas, so we can't prove that we have the legal right to stay in France for even the minimum term of a 1-year lease.
Right.
So even though we have contracted with Adrian Leeds to start looking for us as of January 1st, we have applied online. We'll go for our appointment in the middle of February, and typically it takes maybe 2 weeks to get your visa back, stamped on the passport, get your passports back, and then we can leave any time after that, although our plan is to leave for France during the first week of April, and we're hoping that we will have an apartment significantly ahead of that.
But if that doesn't happen,
Right.
the other option would be to go to an Airbnb
Right.
and be in an Airbnb for a month or 2, which gives you a little more leisurely schedule
Right.
to search for the right apartment. What we did on this trip was we sort of looked at what neighborhoods. We want a newer building with an elevator because the steps, 4 or 5 flights of steps, can be a lot of workout for us. So as we move through the neighborhoods, we found a neighborhood that we think is close to what we are looking for, and air conditioning, an elevator, and a number of different things are on our checklist. So when we go back, we'll try and narrow it down and find a neighborhood where all those things fit together.
Standing underneath the lights, looking into each other's.
We sent all of that information back to her before we even left Nice. Pretty much the same day that we got the paperwork, we sent that back to her. And we're hoping that while we're here in the United States selling all of our stuff and packing things, that they'll start looking for an apartment. They've already been made aware of the fact that we have our appointment, so that we know, or they know, that we're serious, the process is moving along, and if they find us something wonderful, we've already given them power of attorney so that they can in fact sign a lease for us.
And that personal knowledge of the city
Right.
becomes so helpful for people from America who are moving there. I
Right.
mean, we're not familiar with the traffic patterns or the noise or the different neighborhoods, but hiring a local person in Nice to help you
Right.
is invaluable. I mean, it will help us not make the first couple mistakes that you do when you move to a new place without any background.
Right, and both Adrian and her assistant, Patty, who if you contact Adrian for an appointment, typically Patty's the one who responds. They both live in Nice. They both have apartments in Nice. So they live the life, they know the neighborhoods, and I mean, who better to get advice from?
Right.
So when we were there were a few neighborhoods that we were considering. One is the neighborhood that we stayed in at the Airbnb called Nice Centre, which is the center area of Nice. It was no more than about a 15-minute walk to the Promenade des Anglais, which is great. There was a tram stop that was, 7 minutes away from us?
Very close, yeah.
The train station was, 10 minutes?
About that. Yeah.
About 10-minute walk from us. Maybe,
Right.
maybe there was a tram in between. Do we have to take a tram to get to the next stop, to get to the train station?
You could walk all the way to the train station,
Right.
but once you got to the tram, that took you right to the train station, so.
Right, so we walked 7
Right.
minutes and we're at the train station,
Yep.
which is perfect if we want to travel anywhere by train. Let's see.
Now, the other thing to know is the trains that are coming in and out of Nice are sort of local trains. I mean, they take you to Monaco, Monte Carlo, they take you locally. You have to actually switch trains to go to Paris. You would take the local train to Marseille probably to get the high-speed train to go to Paris. I don't believe there's no direct train that leaves Nice that takes you right to Paris.
I think there's a slow train.
Oh, you don't want to take the slow train, no. That's
I seem to think that there is a train directly from Nice to Paris,
oh man,
but
pack a lunch because it's going to be a long ride.
I think we've taken it from Paris to Nice. Non-stop. We didn't get off the train and change trains.
Okay,
I'm like pretty sure. I don't remember that it was it was a high-speed train. The TGV.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. So we were looking at Nice Centre. There was another neighborhood that we looked at,
Les Musiciens.
Musicien. That's a really nice neighborhood. And then the last one was
The flower,
the garden, garden district. I forget what the
yeah.
maybe it was Jardin. I'll put it in on the screen when I remember what the name of it was. Now, we weren't familiar with that one, but Adrian told us where it was, and we went and we walked that area. We walked it at night, we walked it in the daytime. We just wanted to get a feel for it. So these areas that we're considering, I mean, Nice Centre is like a sort of a shopping district,
Right.
but the other two, they're not necessarily tourist areas. That last one, the Jardin or Garden District,
Right.
that was really more of a residential area. I mean, there were some cafes, but you had to walk a little bit, not far, 5-10 minutes, to get to cafes and boulangeries and patisseries and a grocery store or whatever. But it wasn't like a heavily populated tourist area that we could see when we were there. Now, keep in mind, we were there in early December.
Wintertime, yes.
Yes. So there was that. So I'm trying to think of anything else about our apartment searching before we move on to the bank thing.
I think that pretty well covers
Right,
our initial glance at how do we get an apartment.
right. The best thing to do, if you want to get a feel for it, is walk around in the areas that you like.
Right.
Now, one thing Adrian did say is she doesn't recommend people go all over France and we'll stay here and we'll stay there and we'll try this and we'll try that and then we'll go stay there and we'll go stay there.
Now the real story is,
Yes.
2 years ago we did that.
Yes.
We drove from Paris to every little town in the middle of France. And when we ended up at Nice, we finally said this would be the right spot.
Right.
We went to Avion, we went to many places, but we feel that Nice is the right spot for
Right.
us.
But basically, to figure out what the right spot for you is, you need to do what we did before we even went to look at anything
Right.
a couple of years ago. We made a list. What are the things that are most important to us as seniors retiring to Nice? So we wanted a walkable town. We wanted a town that doesn't go to sleep at dark, 9 o'clock, which, you know, although the Provence area was beautiful, nothing's happening at night. There may be like one restaurant in town and that's it. Nice, at 10 o'clock, the party is just beginning. Not that we're up that late,
Right.
but we wanted to be able to avail ourselves of it if we feel like being up that late. We wanted to be near a train station that can go all over Europe.
Right.
So that's there. We wanted to be near good health care where there isn't a scarcity of doctors. No problem there. There's a hospital very close by. Let's see.
International airport.
International Airport, we could take the tram. If that tram is 7 minutes from us, if we get on the right tram, we can take it all the way to the airport and be at the airport in like 15, 20 minutes.
Right.
So there's that. We don't need cars.
We're thinking no car
Right.
saves us and will depend on public transportation. And we found the transportation to be very convenient, clean, ran on time, easiest way to get around town.
Exactly. And if we want to rent a car, we found out that you can rent a car at a grocery store. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. And we heard that you can rent a car for as little as $9 a day at like a Carrefour, or there are a few different stores that rent cars.
And then you pay so much a mile, but usually you'll be short trips when you're in town like that. So
Right.
very reasonable car rentals.
Right, so if we just want to rent a car and go off for a day trip or something, or we need to go shopping and we need to buy things that we don't feel like lugging around
Yep.
on the tram, or walking around town with a giant big thing, we don't have to worry about it.
Right.
So that answered all of our needs. So let's get on to.
And most of the
Oh.
apartments that we're looking at will not have a garage with them.
Right.
Most of the in-town places, it's a pedestrian area.
Right.
And parking is difficult and expensive, so not having a car is gonna be a plus for us.
Now, the first time we went to Nice, we had a car, and it cost us close to $100 a night to park it in the municipal garage. And then when we came up with the idea to park it on the street with meters, you had to like get up, like at the crack of dawn, to beat the meter maid. So definitely you don't want to have a car unless you're buying or renting something that comes with a garage.
Right.
So, and maybe if we end up renting something that has a garage, maybe someday we'll want to buy a cheap car, who knows? But it's not on our,
Our preferred would be an apartment near transportation.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Standing underneath the lights, look into each other's eyes.
So, now let's talk about the bank experience. So, as a lot of you may know, if you've been following my channel, I applied for a bank account for us back in May. Somebody had said to me, a friend had said, why don't you contact BNP Paribas? They have a branch in the Miami area. Maybe you can open your account there. It's a French bank. Maybe you can open your account there, and then you can start putting money into that account. So I went online and I contacted them and said that we're moving to France and that we're looking for a bank account. We want to start putting money in it here in the United States, and we'd be happy to come over to Miami and meet with them to open the account. Well, because we said we were moving to Nice, they transferred it to the international, I guess, non-resident account manager in Nice. So she contacted us and she sent us 50 pieces of paper. So we're now joined by Bella, who just was dying to be in the video. So anyway, we were talking about the bank. So we completed the application, sent all of these forms back to the lady in Nice, and it took a month for her to review everything, and then she finally got back to us and she said, great, okay, when can you come into the office? And we said, well, at that point, this was at the end of June, we said, well, we're not coming back to Nice until November. So she said, okay, all right, let's set up an appointment. So we set up an appointment for when we were in Nice, right after Thanksgiving.
Right.
And we went to meet with her. Turns out she was not a French person. She was an Italian person who married a French person and spoke perfect English, which was great. All along when I was communicating with her by email, I thought she was French, so I was translating a lot of the emails into French. But we didn't have to do that. She spoke to us in perfect English with almost no accent. So anyway, we opened bank account. Now with BNP Paribas, the disappointing thing is, if you're considering this bank, you have to, first of all, you have to go in person for any bank account. To open any French bank account in France, you have to show up at that office in France. They just won't open an account unless you're there in person. But now with BNP Paribas, you have to put 10,000 euros into a savings account. The reason for this is they give you a debit card, and the debit card will just keep on dumping money out to you. You can go to an ATM machine and money will just keep coming out, even if you don't have enough money in your account. I was amazed by this. So they want you to have a savings account so that if you withdraw more than your checking account has in it, they have something to draw from. So you have to keep the money in that savings account for 4 years, which is kind of frustrating. I mean, it's 10,000 euros. That's sort of untouchable. But anyway, we went ahead and we opened. So we went ahead and we opened the account. And then when we came back from Nice, about a week later, we got all of the forms and everything that we knew the account was already open before we left Nice.
Right.
Because she gave us our account numbers and she told us that she would then sign off on it. It would go to their back office and then they would send the account information. So with French banks, you pay for the debit card.
And with French banks, you cannot give them currency.
That was the most
can't
amazing
hand
thing.
them bills. You can't say, here's 100 euros, put it in my account. That's not the way it works.
With French banks, when you deposit money, they need to be able to trace where that money originated from. So the only way that they would accept money from us is by wiring it from our bank account here in the United States. They want a trail of where the
follow.
money came. And
Right.
if you walk in with cash, they have no idea where you got the cash.
Right.
So that was another frustrating thing, because when we did finally fund the account, one wire was, I think, $30 because we were wiring as euros. So
Right.
we had to put the money in as euros. So there was a fee that the bank charged first to convert the money into euros. And then we did 2 wires, one from an account Jeff has, one from mine. It was $50 for each of those wires.
Right.
So, and of course the bank isn't going to reimburse you, but it's something to keep in mind. Then the other thing is, in order to access that account, you have to load an app on your phone. So I'm good with apps. Jeff is just
Not so
starting,
good.
but he's just starting to get into apps.
Yeah.
And he very happily uploaded the app on the phone. So they send you in the mail, they send you a temporary secret code. And so you're supposed to enter your account number and the secret code.
Right.
By the time they sent the paperwork, they don't send it express mail. By the time we got the codes had expired.
Oh,
So we had to ask for a new code. So the lady at the bank in Nice sent the new code by text message. So it didn't work, the text message code didn't work on either phone.
right.
So then we had to request new codes. So then new codes came in the mail, and Jeff was at work, so I was doing this with my phone. So I loaded using the new password that came in the mail. Once again, it had already expired by the time the paper got to us. So that very next day, the lady gave me another text message with a new code. So that day I was actually able to get into the account. And then once you get into the account,
Then it's
you have
logged
to-
in.
Well, then I had to change to a new password.
Yeah.
And it was longer than typically we would use for passwords here in the US. So it was like, oh great, now I have to remember this extra long number. But anyway, so my app is set up. Jeff still isn't set up because he still hasn't gotten a secret password that works. So I figured, I mean, I don't know how he feels about it. I figured at least one of us can get in. Worst case scenario, he can just go into the bank
Right.
when we're in Nice in April, and he
And
can say,
say,
look, help me get in here.
Yes.
One of us can access the money, and I've already gotten into the account, seen our deposits, and so we're good there.
Banks in America, You walk in the door at 10 in the morning, you sit down, you open an account. That's not the way it works in France.
Right.
You make an appointment for like a week or two away,
Right.
and then you go into the bank, and then you sit with them, and then they mail you something back. So it's not as quick and easy as it is here in the United States.
Right. So once we are in Nice in April, the people at Adrian's office, they will contact their contacts again and get us another appointment
And we'll
so
check
that we
out
can
the
get
other
in, and then we'll just withdraw the money out of BNP Paribas. At least we have money over there in case Adrian's people find us an apartment and we need to be able to pay the upfronts, the
Right.
first month's rent, the security deposit, last month's rent. We've got more than enough money in the account over there to cover it.
So that we can transfer from a French bank to the landlord or whoever we need to pay once an apartment becomes available.
Right, exactly. So those were the two main things that we went to France to do. We had hoped that we would be able to get to see apartments, but unfortunately, even though we had the appointment for months with Adrian's office, and they knew basically that we wanted to rent an apartment, we had some obstacles. We didn't have the long stay visa. We didn't have a guarantor, and there is a huge shortage of rentals in Nice. So our advice is, if you want to contract with Adrian's company, as soon as you know you want to do that, book a consult with her. You can even do it by Zoom. Originally, we had a meeting planned with Adrian by Zoom, and when we found out that she was going to be in Nice right around Thanksgiving, we changed the appointment to an in-person appointment, which was great.
Right.
But you can book a Zoom appointment with her from anywhere in the world, basically.
Right.
So it's going to cost us a little bit of money by the time we're done with all of the things that we've asked Adrian to do for us. And that includes that first consult. And then we're going to have her people assist us in getting the utilities put in our name, and of course, getting that bank account set up. We probably won't need to have her help with any of the other things, but they do all kinds of things, and it's really worth it to just spend the money for the consult.
And what they explained was the bureaucracy in France. You sort of need to know how the bureaucracy works.
Right.
It's not like you walk in and throw cash on the counter and everything's done. You make appointments with people, you have to set things up ahead of time, and many times you don't hear back right away. So local help like that is invaluable, we feel.
Right. And the fact that they've all done this,
Right.
they've all gone through the entire process of becoming expats from the U.S. I mean,
And us, it's the first time. So we're very appreciative of the help that they're giving us finding a spot.
for us, it's worth paying the extra money for peace of mind. They can read French contracts, they can negotiate leases, so we don't have to worry about getting a contract, because everything's in French over there, don't forget that. All the legal documents are in French. So they get a lease, they take a look at the lease, they'll look at the lease and they'll decide, well, these are some things that are in the lease, we don't think you should agree to these things, and they'll negotiate with the management company or the landlord on our behalf.
Right.
So, I mean, you get what you pay for. There are a lot of people out there who said, oh, they didn't need a realtor and they found an apartment by themselves, but
That's probably the exception rather than the rule. So
exactly,
we're looking for the help, the local help.
exactly. Getting back to what we're looking for, we're hoping that when we get to Nice, we will find that 2-bedroom apartment, if we're lucky, 2-bath too. We were lucky enough to rent an Airbnb, not last year, but the year before. That was a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, and that was a nice Airbnb.
But the custom with the bath is that you have a sink and a shower sort of attached to the bedrooms,
Right.
but just a single toilet.
Oh, right, I forgot, that's right. There was only one toilet in that apartment,
That the
but there were 2,
There were sinks
bathrooms.
and showers in each one.
yes.
But in France, it's very common for one central toilet room, a smaller room, and the bathrooms themselves don't always have a toilet in them.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. A little different than American.
exactly. So do you think we've pretty much covered it all, Jeff?
I think we're taking baby steps on our first big jump, and follow us along. We'd love to share our journey as we transition from being United States citizens and changing to expats and headed over to France.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the one thing that you have to agree, if you've been following my channel for a while, is this move to France, it could not be more researched than what I have done, we have done. I mean, there are some people, they go over to France, they decide they want to live there, and they've done no research. They get their long stay visas, and they're sort of like wandering around. They don't know about the bureaucracy. Some people have been there for almost a year and didn't realize that you have to contact the health system.
Right.
I forget what it's called, CPAM or something like that. You have to contact them after you're there 90 days. So you'll go there and you'll...
They'll check your medical records and give you a physical, don't they?
Yes, they do. But when you first get there, you have to go online to, I forget what you call the term, when you let them know, okay, we're in France, we arrived on this date. So that becomes day one of your life in France.
Yeah.
So then ultimately they're going to contact you to go for an x-ray and a physical.
Right.
In some parts of France, you do that all at the same time. In some cities, you do first the x-ray in one place, the doctor's appointment in the other. But after you've done the x-ray and the doctor's appointment, then after you're there 90 days, you have to go online to the health system, the French health system, and you have to make application. I know of at least one person who said, nobody ever contacted me. I'm not on the health system. I've been there almost a year. They never contacted me. Well, this was another thing we learned when we talked to Adrian. They don't contact you. You have to contact them and make application. So you need to do that after you're there 90 days.
Right.
Oh, I know. One thing that we forgot to talk about is the health insurance that you have to buy. You have to buy the prepaid health insurance.
Yes.
So we have made application. We're waiting to see if it's approved. And we applied.
Because we're on Medicare here in the United States. But as we leave, we're going to pause our Medicare. We're both on Social Security at the moment, so our premiums come out of our Social Security checks. As we leave the United States, we'll hit pause on Medicare in case something changes.
On the deductions, right.
On the deduction. We'll hit pause on the Medicare deductions. We'll go to France, but we'll need an insurance policy to cover us in France.
Well, and to get the visa.
Right.
You're not allowed to get a long stay visa without proving that you have at least 1 year of health insurance that meets the guidelines for getting that long stay visa. So we had a number of names that we checked out, and the company that offered the lowest price insurance for what we were looking for was a company called Mondesur. And they offered a dirt cheap plan that did not cover any pre-existing conditions. And there was a limitation on how much of each doctor's bill they would cover. Plus there was a stipulation that if you're hospitalized, if you go to the emergency room, you need to notify that particular insurance company within 48 hours or they won't cover the plan. And the problem people had was if they're in the emergency room and they're incapable of contacting the insurance company, they would lose out. The plan would reject any bills from that.
Now that was the cheapest plan, but there was a second plan, and the second plan covered almost everything.
Right.
And covered pre-existing conditions, and that was the plan that we decided to get on, just to make a peace of mind.
Right. Now the big difference in price, I'll give you that. The cheap plan was about €500 or $500, or no, was it euros? 500 euros. The cheap plan was about €500 per person. The plan that we decided on was based on our age. So they base it on your age, and the older you are, the more expensive
the more expensive
it is.
The insurance is.
So for us, because he's 69 and I'm already over 70, it's going to cost us over $2,200 per person for this plan. But It covers all existing conditions. And it covers 90% of every single other thing and 100% of everything else from first dollar with no deductibles, which
So-
is fantastic. Now, the only problem is we made application and you have to list all of your conditions, because if you're gonna ask them to ensure that they're gonna cover all those pre-existing conditions, you have to give them a list.
So we've been emailing back and forth with a doctor in France, our existing conditions, what medications we take, what prescriptions we're on.
Right.
And that's a process. They do thoroughly check you out for that insurance.
Right, so we've just returned responses to the doctor who wanted to know how the pre-existing conditions we have are being treated and what medications we take.
Right.
And so now we're just waiting for that to be finalized. Now, if for some reason they don't approve us, we'll just get the basic plan and we'll have the minimal insurance, and then as soon as we're allowed to get on the National Health Plan,
Right.
90 days, we'll make sure that we're online, make an application for that.
There you go.
So we are sort of on schedule here. I would feel better if we sold a lot more stuff, but we've already decided. It started out, we were gonna sell everything, and whatever we didn't sell by the middle of March, we were gonna donate. Then when I set up the estate sale and started advertising it, the next thing was I advertised on Marketplace and Craigslist, okay, we're gonna do this estate sale through the end of February. And then once I set it up and realized how we're living here, we saw it at the beginning of this video, I thought, oh my God, I can't do this for that long. So I would say the majority of what's in the living room, if it doesn't sell by the middle of next month, we're gonna box and bag it up, and I'm gonna contact the Breast Cancer Society, who will send a truck, and they'll come and get everything that we don't want. And even if that's just the first load, we'll get them to take everything that you see in the room here, and then when we come back from some traveling we're gonna do in March, we'll bag and box up the rest, and any furniture that's left, we'll have the Breast Cancer Society come and get it, and we'll be done.
Yes.
I mean, at this point, we don't care if we're sleeping on an air mattress and sitting on the floor to watch TV. The TV will be like, the one TV will be the last thing to go.
We are such Americans. You can take everything, but leave me the TV.
So anyway, thank you so much for watching. We're so glad that you have chosen to spend some time with us today. We hope you've learned something from what we have shared, and we'll keep on sharing, especially when we get to Nice. Every week you're going to see Jeff and I, and we're going to do a little weekly vlog and tell you what's new, what we've been doing, what we've been up to, what did we see, where did we eat.
And this summer,
Yes.
the Tour de France comes into Nice.
Oh, yes.
So-
Well, it ends in Nice.
Ends in Nice. So
Yes.
this will be the first year in a long time that we'll be there for the end of the Tour de France bicycle race.
Right. We're hoping to get there. My son is going to be visiting us at the end of July, right around when that race is going to end. So we'll figure out what kind of tickets we need, if anything, maybe for grandstands or something.
Yep.
And so if we're there, we'll take you too. So anyway, thanks again for watching. I will see you next week and show you something else. Something wonderful, I hope. I have to come up with it, right?
Right.
As always, if you have any suggestions for videos, something that you're interested in that I haven't shared with you yet, if we have information on it, I'm happy to do a video. So leave comments below. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe so you don't miss our future videos. And please don't forget to give me a thumbs up. You know, it really does help the algorithms. YouTube says, oh my gosh, look at all these people giving this video thumbs up. Maybe we should show it to more people, and they do, and I get more subscribers, and it's wonderful. So thanks again. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Say bye, Bella.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
So all that's left is you and me. I can't promise you're the only thing I see. Hold my hand and hear the words I say. Close your eyes and let us fade away. Build a secret sacred place for you and me. Let our minds be caught up